discussed in the lecture by looking at the features. And the latter part of the course, when we discussed the national business system, this point comes back again. And the emphasis is comparing and contrast rather than understanding these issues for a single country. Okay, so we have tried to give you specific knowledge and trying to consolidate your knowledge. And lecture notes, okay, or on the Moodle, if anything you don't understand, I suggest you go through the specific lecture notes again. Third country, South Korea, and again, relationship between business and states, particularly important. And Korean chaebols, conglomerates, okay, the chaebols, particularly important. Business in China, key issues discussed. You need to pay attention to these three issues when preparing for exam. How the state-owned enterprises reforms, what are the progress and problems, and how the FDI policy changed in China. What are the challenges facing foreign firms in their operations in China? These are the specific questions discussed in the lecture. You need to refresh, revise and refresh your understanding. And in the case of Malaysia, country review provided economic policies. Successful Malaysia. In what area Malaysia achieved success? Problems and dilemmas. Upgrade the economy. So, the key thing is what are the success achieved from Malaysia in terms of industrialization, and what kind of problems, dilemmas Malaysia encountered. And the key series for the second part of this course, which led by me, I summarized the key series. One is whether you have a good understanding of a variety of capitalism. National business systems, very important. Some of you already done an essay topic of that. Okay? Late development, late industrialization thesis. The earlier question I said, are there any particular reasons for the significant role of states in the Asia-Pacific region? Yeah, this is a particular reason. Because to some extent, all the economies in the region are late developers. And for late developing countries, the governments and its agencies need to play a bigger role. Otherwise, late developers are not going to compete with early developers because of, at the starting point, they do not have technology, they do not have markets, and short-term capital. How can they compete if left alone? So the government has to step in, filling the gaps in the market. Yeah, that's a big discussed extensively throughout the course. Late development, late industrialization thesis, developmental states, national innovation system. That's to say, if you're doing assignment topic 2, you will refer to that. National innovation system, very important. And there's 2 streams of national innovation system. Yeah.
Which countries would be considered early or late industrialized? So maybe Japan is early. Korea.
This is comparative sense. Okay. Japan compared with UK, USA, Germany would be late. Japan compared with South Korea, with China, with Taiwan would be early. You see? And that's the late industrialization thesis, this comparative sense, depending which country you're comparing with. Yeah. So national innovation system, which is a huge importance, theoretical perspective. If you're doing essay, assignment question number 2. 3L framework proposed by Marcius and Zhou on the multinational firms and the local firms. Through such linkages, the local firms increase their understanding, learns how to operate, and they leverage those sources, learning processes. 3L framework characterize the technology developments achieved by local firms. Culture, entrepreneurship, and economic growth. whether Confucianism is a barrier or enabler for economic growth, whether characteristics of cultural influence on the management and organization of firms. Okay? And the recommended ratings have different chapters. Turning has different chapters devoted to this issue, looking at the management, development of overseas Chinese business. To some extent, they are Confucianists. Their management style is Confucianists, but they still achieved economic development or growth in their respective countries. So you would need to understand some kind of relationship between culture and entrepreneurship and economic growth. So these are the theories, and you can say there's no shortage of theories. Okay, there's abundance of theories, and these are theories you need to think when you're answering questions. And empirical knowledge, to what extent you understand the level of Asian miracle in terms of economic growth. The extent of Asian miracle is usually set very clearly at the beginning of any ratings. If you look at any rating, when discussing the Asia-Pacific region, tell you the Asia-Pacific region has achieved substantial economic growth in the past 3 decades. In what aspects? Then the question is, how do we explain Asian economic miracle? Or the knowledge we try to instill in this course is to say, well, a traditional economic explanation is not enough. We will take into other factors into consideration, for example, the lower states, because if you just explain economic growth from economic perspective, which are often dominated by, for example, theorists in the UK or the USA, then you would neglect totally the lower states. Then that's contradictory to the reality, because the countries or economies in the region achieved economic growth not by letting the market, the invisible hands, to do all the magic, but using the visible hands, which is policies, institutional level innovations, the role of the state and its key agencies. Okay, so, and also beyond that, some historical factors, because you would remember what I said in terms of Japan's economic growth. That is hugely important in thinking about, this relations between Japan and the USA after the Second World War, how Japan was made as a force to contain communist developments. And that explains why there's a significant level of investment from USA to Japan, and also the willingness of USA to transfer a large number of technologies to Japan. So how do we explain Asian miracle? One thing is we need to take multiple perspectives, whether national business system, whether developmental states, whether basic developments, whether national. These are our relevance. It's not just some kind of economic magic which makes Asian Pacific region to grow. And also you need to have some kind of comparative management knowledge. So that is to say, for essay topic question number 1, national business system. And when you compare Japan and China, you would refer to the third dimension, for example, the management of the firm. You say, oh, Japanese firm is managed quite differently from Chinese firm in what aspects. For example, decision making, whether you say in Chinese firms there is similar kind of modes of decision making, whether it's top down or bottom up. Okay? And in terms of human resource development, whether Chinese firms, like the Japanese counterparts, provide extensive training and job rotation, this kind of mechanisms to train their employees. So these are the management, comparative management knowledge. That is to say, to understand the situation in one country not enough. You need to think about other countries' cases as well. Policy-related knowledge. So relating to Malaysia, you say the FDI policies in Malaysia changed and adapted to the circumstances of the country. from initially very close to FDI to later stage encouraging FDI and building up linkages with multinational firms. So policy-related knowledge, very important. Industry-related knowledge, and this could be, for example, how the firms in the Asia Pacific region established a strong position in the electronics industry. In case studies we looked at, Lenovo in China, Acer in Taiwan, yeah, they all illustrated that some, you need to have some industry-related knowledge. Firm-related knowledge, again, this could be from your own readings, this could be from the case studies we did in the course. So this all adds to your marks. Yeah.
Can I ask, policy-related knowledge, would that be in terms of like the MOF and METI and AIST, would they governmental institutes, so would that come under policy-related or industry-related?
Yeah. That is policy-related.
Policy.
The road state and key agencies, METI and the Economic Development Board, for example.
The AIST. So they're all contributing factors towards policy.
That's right. Yeah, that's policy related as well. Yeah. Okay, so that's I think what I want to say. Any questions?
How have students done in the past? Have they seen a high pass mark?
Well, majority pass.
Yeah.
Majority pass, but there are failures. Yeah, there are failures. I think 10, 15 fails.
Because 40 is the pass mark, isn't it?
40 is passing. That's
out
right.
of which 30 comes from our assignment that we've done now.
Yes.
That's like the average grade. The average grade.
Average grades, I don't have that figure. Average grades 58. 58 the year before, I remember.
Okay.
Yeah, last year probably 59. Around the mark. I mean, the thing I'm saying is, if you can prepare all the things, you will done very well. If you can finish your answers, okay, referring to empirical knowledge, that is to say, you have this kind of understanding, and you have the series, and you pay attention to each lecture topic, lecture notes, the things we discussed in the lecture. You would have done over 70.
But then the lectures, do you only want us to sort of pay more attention to, obviously, the highlighted ones?
The highlighted ones are especially important in terms of exam
So we need to go a little bit deeper
Yeah.
into those.
Yeah, but other things equally important. But I'm highlighting some of, I think, most important things we need to pay attention to. Yeah, the core, yes, that's the word.
So you can't put any past exam papers on Moodle like they used to last year?
Well, that's freely for you to download from the college library.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, type into 2155 HMCP business, and probably there's a hyperlinks for past exam papers. Then you can download. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.